Hey everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing with embossing paste. I was working on this card and wanted to create something fun in the background other than my usual spattered ink or embossing folders, and played with my embossing paste. So I thought it'd be fun to do a couple of techniques and show you different ways that you can use embossing paste, because they do add some great dimension and texture to your cards. First thing we're going to talk about are the supplies that we need. What you want to have is some kind of silicone mat, or if you have a glass craft mat, you can use that too. So I have my silicone mat here, but I am not going to use it today because it is making my camera go in and out of focus. So I'm going to take this out of here, but you want to have something that has an easy cleanup surface, because embossing paste, when it dries, it's pretty hard sometimes to get it cleaned up. I am going to be using mostly this modeling paste here. I also have this cloud whip, which is something I received for free in an order from scrapbook.com. This is actually their product, and when I first got it, I was really confused, but I'm going to show you how to use this. This is actually kind of fun, and what I used on the background of my card that I showed you earlier. There's also translucent embossing paste. You use that. And then you have things like grit paste, texture paste, all those types of things. So I have texture paste in the opaque. I also have it in transparent. And then I also have the grit paste. And those are all just versions of texture or embossing paste that you can use. I also have some tools. I'm going to be using a couple of different spatulas here. I have this metal spatula that I dig out every once in a while, and I use that. I also have this white plastic one. I have a rubber one. You don't need all three of these. You can use just one is all you really need. And I also have this scraper. This is a dough palette, dough blade, dough knife, dough scraper that I got on Amazon for a couple bucks. It came in a package of 3, and it was just a few dollars. And this is great for spreading your texture paste. I'll show you how to use that. But again, something that's not necessary. If you have the knife, that's all really you need. Of course, we're going to need some stencils. So I have a couple of stencils pulled out that we're going to play with. And then I also have cardstock, and we'll be bringing in a couple of other things as we go along with the techniques. And then next to me, I have a soapy bucket here with water, so I can throw my stencils right into, or my tools right into that, because if you leave texture paste it too long, it's going to get stuck and you're going to have a hard time getting that stuff cleaned up. So that's there next to me just to make it a little bit easier for cleanup, or at least in between steps here that I don't have to worry about things drying up real quick. So let's get started. I am going to just show you first how to do texture paste. If you've never done texture paste before, if you're new to card making and you want to learn more about texture paste, this is light and fluffy modeling paste. There are different versions of modeling paste. Some of them are really thick, and this is light and fluffy. This is perfect for doing embossing, and you're spreading this with a palette knife. So I'll show you that. And again, things like texture paste all work pretty much the same. So I have my piece of colored cardstock, which I'm going to use today, and I'm using the colored one for this one so that you can kind of see some of the differences in here. You can go ahead and tape this down if you're worried about it moving around. I am not going to be using these pieces to make cards. It's more just to show you the techniques and what there is that you can do with the texture paste. So I'm just going to throw my stencil right on the top here. I'm going to grab my light and fluffy. And this is such a beautiful type of paste. I've been playing with this quite often. This is probably my second bottle of this because I just love it. But it has like the consistency almost of an icing, and that's pretty much how you use it. So we're just going to grab a little bit, and I am going to start just smearing it on here like I'm icing a cake or a cupcake. And I'm not worried about getting it on my glass because I'll be able to clean this up. The one thing I have noticed over some time is the thinner you put the layers, so this side over here I'll do pretty thin. If you're using a brighter cardstock, you can sometimes see the color through that. And if you're okay with that, that's great, but it also does dry way faster than if you do a thicker. So I'm going to do a little bit of a thicker and a thinner for this and show you the difference. So we have a little bit of a thicker side, and we'll have our thinner side here. Whatever I don't use, I'm going to put right back in the container. So we're just going to wipe it off. And I am going to put the lid on so that we don't dry up too quickly. I'm also going to grab a baby wipe. This isn't something you have to have, but I'm grabbing it just so I can clean this tool off a lot quicker than playing with the soapy water. So I'm going to clean that off with the baby wipe. I'm also going to grab the translucent so you can see what that looks like. It's a little bit of a different texture. It's not quite as, this is more, like I said, an icing kind of feeling. This is kind of like, I would describe this more of like a Elmer's glue consistency. It's a little shiny, a little bit rubbery in a way. So that one is just the same process. So this is the translucent. We're just going to go ahead and put that on. And you could put this on fairly thin because obviously when it dries, you're not going to see it, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's dry. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that back inside of the container. And we're going to get this cleaned up. To get this up off my desk, I am just going to, once again, I'm going to wipe this off with a baby wipe. And I'm going to pull this off of here. And now you can see what that looks like. So the top part is our texture paste, and the bottom part, or our white texture paste, and our bottom part is the translucent. I'm going to set that aside. I am not going to scrape any of this off here because I don't want to contaminate my white embossing paste with the translucent. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump this right into my soapy water. To get it up off my desk, I can use either alcohol, rubbing alcohol, or water. I discovered for me, rubbing alcohol seems to work the best, but the water does work as well. I'm going to give this a couple squirts. Then I'm going to grab a piece of paper toweling and we'll get that wiped up. So I did a sample of the white and the translucent so you can see what it looks like. So you can see at the bottom, the shiny, that's the translucent. And then we have the white with either a thicker coating or a thinner coating. The thinner one, you can kind of see it a little tinted with the blue, and the thicker looks much more white. So I just wanted to point that out. If you do a thinner coat, especially on a darker colored cardstock, I don't notice it more as much on this one as I have on other colors, but just keep that in mind. So just a simple, fun background, but all the different stencils that you have, you can create such easy backgrounds. And I do kind of like that I cut this off, because if I didn't do the clear on the top, I could easily just have this at the bottom, put a sentiment and something up at the top here. So yeah, it doesn't take long to dry. I would say the thicker you have it, it takes maybe about an hour to dry. The thinner doesn't take long at all. And because I did a thin coat of the translucent paste, that didn't take long at all to dry either. As a matter of fact, that was dry before this part was dry. So for my next one, I'm going to be playing with some different mediums. And I brought in my mat that goes with my Tim Holtz glass mat that I thought would be great for just using as a palette for mixing some things. So I'm going to grab some of this modeling paste. We're just going to scoop a little bit out. A little bit out. We don't need too much, since we're just really playing and we don't want to waste too much of it, but it's okay because it's a lot of fun. I'm going to start by doing some just ink. So I'm just going to use some of my Concord and Ninth ink and smear it right onto this mat. Pick up my modeling paste and we're going to start mixing this in. The modeling paste is going to pick up that color and it's going to blend right in, and it's gorgeous. I am just going to keep kind of scraping it. This is why I like this knife the best, because it helps me kind of push that color into that modeling paste and get it mixed around. So we're going from this really brighter pink color, this is honeysuckle, and into a nice, pretty soft pink color. And I really like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and smear that right onto this piece right here. And this one we can actually do a pretty thin layer because we're using a white cardstock, so we don't need to fill this up completely and really thick because it's gonna you're gonna see the white through, but you could definitely see how gorgeous that comes out and just playing with the color. There's no difference in how long it takes to dry. Just be careful, because if you make too much and you're only going to use a small amount, then you end up with this leftover, and we can't put this back in the container because then the rest of our paste will turn pink, and we don't want that. So there we go. We have some pretty hearts that we made using regular embossing paste and just adding some ink from our stash or collection of inks that we have. I'm going to do also Distress Oxide, which comes out really pretty as well. So I'm just going to tap that on there, and then we'll use some Distress Oxide as our color palette. We're going to grab our embossing paste, and we can start mixing that up just like so. And that comes out a really pretty light blue, but I'm going to add some more just so we can get some additional color, because I feel like that's just a little too light. So we're going to add some more to this. I'm going to give it a really good coating of this is Salvage Patina, by the way, that we're using. So we're just going to mix that in. Again, you can leave some of that white and get some pretty variations in the white and that blue color. So maybe that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to grab another stencil, another piece of cardstock. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and smear that right on there. And we end up with that really pretty background. That would actually be really stunning with just a simple message going across, or a simple sentiment going across the center, and a little bit, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. I do see a little bit of that white that didn't get mixed in completely, and I really like that look. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hold on to this because I see that as a card in the future. This next one is just a plain white piece of cardstock with my embossing paste already on it, and it's already dry. So we can do a couple of things. This one, I'm just going to show you that you can cut through your embossing paste. I am just going to put it in my paper trimmer here. I've also used my dies on them as well, so you don't have to worry about, die cutting or making sure your paper is cut before. And at least that works with this embossing paste. So I'm just going to cut this down so that we can use it as a little example here, because I am going to add some color to this with my Distress Oxides and a blending brush. I'm going to use the Salvage Patina since it's already here on my desk. Grab my blending brush, and I'm just going to come in and just start adding it like I would on a piece of cardstock normally if I'm just blending in. And I love the way this looks. It kind of picks up the background with the darker, then the embossing paste comes up a little bit lighter. And I love the way this looks. It just gives another way to color your embossing paste. So you can see how that looks. Isn't that fun? It looks. Wouldn't that be fun to do an ombre coloring of this in different colors, or, lighter to darker tones? I just think that would be pretty fun. This next one is pretty much the same thing. We are going to take our Distress Mica stains. Any kind of ink, re-inkers, distress inks, Distress Oxides, you can definitely use those for creating some of your colored embossing base. It's very easy to do. I'm not going to do a whole lot for this one. So after we gave that a good shake, I'm just going to, that comes out really dark. And this is the Winter Frost. And for this one, I'm going to use my little spatula here. That was a lot of spray compared to my amount of my embossing paste that I have here. So we're just going to just play with that color. That's actually comes out really pretty color. So we're just going to grab another piece of cardstock. We have our paste on here. For this one, I'm just using my regular rubber spatula that I have, and that's just works the same. It's just, I find it's nice to use, but I don't feel like it gets in all of those places that we need it to get into. So I usually use this as a second handle, or just a extra way to clean off. So I'll take like this knife here and I'll scrape it, or I'll use this to scrape off that knife. So it just depends on what I'm working on. But this one, I like it, but I definitely like having the more of a stiffer knife than having that rubber knife. So there we go. That is with it in the micas. It comes out really pretty. So just to show you, when the mica stain dries, you don't see any of the mica in there. So there's no shine or shimmer whatsoever in that mica. So it does come out pretty flat and more of a flat color and not sparkly or shiny like the mica. But it gives you more options for if you're trying to color your embossing paste. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Cloud Whip. And the Cloud Whip really confused me because I got it for free, thought, oh, Cloud Whip must be nice, light and creamy. But when you open it up, sorry about that, when you open it up, I have a press and seal on top of here, like the saran wrap, just to put over the top of it. And that is a suggestion, just to do that with all of your embossing paste and textures, just to keep so that it stays the consistency it's supposed to. However, when I opened this one up, I was like, well, this stuff is not really thick. This stuff is very thick. And I was thoroughly confused by what it was. And then I looked at the top and I'm like, oh, this is really just a mixed media modeling paste. I didn't understand. How is this like, Cloud Whip? How could it be light and airy? Well, one thing that you can do is you just play with this and mix it around, and you can get it almost to the texture of this light and fluffy. However, if it doesn't get that way because it is pretty thick, just squirt a little bit of water in it and it actually will get a little bit thinner, and it works just like your embossing paste. However, the point of this is to add different mediums to it. So one of the things that scrapbook.com has is that you can use your pops of color, you can put acrylic paint in it, you can put ink in it. The more you put in it, the softer it gets. So I was having too much fun playing with this, and this is what I used to create that little speckle part on my background of my card. So I'm just going to squirt this in and mix it in. And once you start mixing it in, it starts to really become the same consistency of that light and fluffy paste that I was using at the beginning of the video. So we're just going to go ahead and start mixing this in. And I had so much fun playing with this after I figured out what to do with it. So thank goodness for YouTube videos. You learn so much from watching them and how to use it. So this turns into just this beautiful paste that we can, again, use with stencils. And I use this with a speckled stencil. I'm going to add a little bit more paste or a little bit more of the pops of color to this. And we'll get that all kind of mixed in. And the more you add to it, the more liquid, the fluffier the paste becomes. I tried adding water at first, and then I added the pops of color. It was just a little too much fluid and became really watery and runny. So just add a little bit at a time so that it makes it that you don't over saturate the modeling paste. So we're just going to blend this in, and we're going to add that color right onto that stencil. And again, I seem to be liking to use this kind of a tealy color because I did that with my version that I did with the with Salvage Patina Distress Oxide. But we're just going to go ahead and put that right on there. This one we're doing more of an angle, so it's not a straight up and down. So we're going to peel off that. I got a big clump in the middle because I think one of my leaves are bent. Maybe? No, it's just that I wasn't very good at smearing. But isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to play with the Cloud Whip one more time, but I do want to note one thing. If you're sensitive to smells, this might bother you because it does have a pretty strong smell to it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up because I do get headaches from certain scents, and this one is probably something that would definitely give me a headache after a while. So I'm just going to get that closed up so I don't have to keep smelling it. I'm going to take a little bit of this Cloud Whip against some of the pops of color. I'm gonna pop that right down on top of my mat here. But you can even use your Nouveau drops if you have those, any kind of enamel or even acrylic paint if you have those. You can definitely make some nice different colored paste, and you can add that to the Color Whip or Cloud Whip so that you can get that nice beautiful texture. Ooh, I really like this color. It definitely softens because we're adding color to white, so it becomes more of a muted color. So use the bright colors because you know you're going to get that softer color from that. If you use too light of a color, you might not get the color that you're looking for. All right, so we're going to get that all scraped up. Going to grab another piece of cardstock here. Got my Hearts stencil. We're just going to stick that right on the top, and we are going to smear that on there. I did not use my dough scraper, so let's play with that one a little bit just to show you. So for this one, it does give you a nice coverage, so you can kind of spread this out and clear and get more of the cardstock covered. If you were looking to do a whole background with a stencil and embossing paste, you could definitely get more coverage with this. All right, so we have that all done, and I'm going to peel this off. I'm going to throw it right into my soapy water. Now, while our paste is still wet, I'm going to bring in a piece of paper. This is just copy paper, and I love this. The first time I did it, I was so excited about it. I am just going to use some of my rock candy glitter. I'm not a glitter person. I don't have a whole lot of glitter in my craft room. As a matter of fact, the only glitter I have, I think, is rock candy. But look at that. I love how that turns out. Those hearts are gorgeous, and hopefully the camera can pick up all that glimmer. And as this dries, the glitter sticks to the paste and it doesn't come off. So I have one that I've already done. Let me just clean this up. I'll show you one that I did. And that is the one I did earlier. All I did was, once it was dried, I just take a light brush and fan off any of the extra glitter that's on there. But the glitter that's stuck to the paste is just gorgeous. I love that. And there you go. Those are all the fun ways that you can use embossing paste. Just plain right out of the container, so you can have a nice white background with your stencils. You can use the translucent. There's coloring them with mica stains, coloring them with your ink pads, coloring them with your distressed oxides, and adding glitter. There's so many things that you can do and color with just acrylic paint, pops of color, Nouveau drops, so many ways that you can add color to your embossing paste. So I hope you enjoyed today's video and found it helpful. I will leave a link to the supplies that I used down below in the description of this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.